the it crowd, fitting in. I remember when I was in junior high that I went to a new school for the first time. I had been in a private school and I was going to public school, and I was so excited because I was going to get the chance to wear t-shirts and jeans and just relax when I went to school. Well, what I discovered was when on the first day was that everyone was dressed up super nice, like collared t-shirts and slacks. The girls were in dresses, and I went home freaking out. I said, Mom, we got to go to the store and we got to buy a bunch of new clothes because I don't fit in. I'm scared about what this is going to be like for my next year here in junior high. So we went off shopping and we got the nice clothes. And you know what happened the next day when I showed up to school? Everyone was dressed in t-shirts and jeans and were super chill. And I discovered once again, I didn't fit in. Well, the urge to try to fit in with others is not a new impulse. It's not a new instinct. And we see that instinct in Philippians chapter 3, where Paul's opponents are encouraging the Philippians to fit in with their faith by becoming Jews. And what Paul says is, you don't have to do this. See, his opponents' logic were, Jesus was a Jew, and if Jesus was a Jew, he saves Jewish people. So if you want to be saved, become Jewish. Well, Paul confronts his opponents on this, and he says, look, if you want to compare credentials of what it means to be Jewish, let me tell you about my credentials. I was circumcised on the 8th day. I'm a member of Israel. I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews. As to the law, I was a Pharisee. For zeal, I persecuted the church. And for the righteousness under the law, get this, Paul says he was blameless. Paul didn't have this internal crisis, this struggle of his inability to follow the law. He didn't see himself as this terrible person who kept falling short. In his mind, when he thought about his Jewishness and when he thought about his ability to follow the law, he saw himself as blameless, that he was able to follow the law, that he was able to fit in. But what he discovered when he encountered Christ was that all of that didn't matter, that all of that was rubbish in comparison to Christ. It's like Jesus' parable about the treasure in the field. This person who goes to a field and discovers this is amazing treasure, and so they sell everything and buy the field because of this treasure. Or they find this pearl of great price, which again they go and they purchase because of how incredibly valuable it is. Paul's confrontation with Christ was that he discovered that Christ was so valuable that he wanted to get rid of everything and to have Christ. And so it's like Paul saw himself having $100, but he saw Christ as being worth $1 million. And he said, I've got to have that. I've got to have that. Well, when he does that, what he discovers is it's not by his ability to follow the law, but it's his ability to trust in Christ that he's able to be put in right relationship with God. This idea of trusting in God or faithfulness of God is really important. And for us, often as Christians, we use the word faith and we use the word righteousness, and these are big words, big religious words. And I prefer much simpler language. I prefer things like trust. The idea for Paul is that God is so trustworthy, and he proves his trustworthiness to us through Christ and what Christ did on the cross, that we have no choice but to trust him. Because that's what you do with trustworthy things, is you simply trust in them. Things that aren't trustworthy, it's hard to produce that kind of trust. And what Paul says is when we trust in God, we discover that God will put us in right relationship with him and right relationship with other people. The fancy term for right relationship is righteousness. And Paul says that by trusting in God, we are made righteous. By trusting in God, we are put in right relationship with God and right relationship with other people. It's these kind of things, not these external things like following the law, the external things like certain markers of ethnicity that we see with becoming a Gentile relationship. It's not these sort of things. Instead, it's the unity found in Christ. I want to ask ourselves this week, what are the things that we're doing that put barriers between us and other people? What are the things that we do to say you've got to do this sort of thing in order to be accepted by God or accepted by me? What are the things that I look at in my own life and think I need to do this because I'm feeling out of relationship with God?